Okay, so we are heading out to the body shop. The 89 Range Rover has been there for about 2 weeks. They've been taking it apart, removing all the panels, really just trying to get a full sense of what needs to be repaired in the way of the little bit of rust the car does have. Gotten to a point where everything's off, so I'm super excited to actually see the car without the panels, really understand kind of the chassis and how everything goes together. But more importantly, we're going to kind of do a run through and ensure that we are ordering all the replacement panels we need. Don't want to do this halfway. Want to make sure this car is truly sorted when we put it all back together and do the respray for the color change. So I'm going to take you guys along just so you can kind of see some of the progress and get a little bit of the before we do all the repairs, and then do respray and that color that I will share here in a future episode. So let's get rolling.
So we brought the Range Rover Classic to a different shop, one that was really better set up for rust repair and respray. Lots of areas to address on this car. Rear cross members, one of the bigger ones, rear panel on the passenger side at the back of the trunk, wheel arches on both the front passenger and driver side, as well as the rear arches in the back. Really, we didn't understand the level of rust repair until we started taking off all the panels on this car. I'm glad we did. Ultimately, I wanted to ensure we really did this project right, so by removing all the panels you see, plus we took off the doors, a lot of trim pieces, it allowed us to see everything that needed to be repaired so that we went in and did it once. A lot of the repair panels you can see here were prefabricated. That includes the inner and outer sills in these locations. And overall, while the job was more than I anticipated, I am glad we decided to do it the way we did so that it's truly done right for the long term.
Okay guys, so we're getting ready to go check on the 89. It's been in this body shop for about the last month or two. We've been taking it apart slowly, really trying to chase all the rust, make sure we document, kind of inventory everything that is rusted. Then we've got to order parts. Once we find something that's rusted, we've actually had to do that on 2 different rounds. So with wait times and parts and shipping in the UK, it's added a little bit of time, not a big deal. So we're probably at about a midpoint. I haven't been out there yet, but a lot of the parts are dry fitted. Everything we need is ordered. So we're gonna kind of give it a once over and see where we're at before we start the bulk of the welding to put a lot of those panels and parts and pieces back in. Then we'll start to coat the car, prep it and sand it and get it painted, resprayed. Then it's back to the garage for the fun stuff. So suspension, wheels, tires, stereo, grills, you name it. So let's go head out to the shop, check on the 89. 91, it's a quick update, is still in the shop as well. That's got mechanical work going on, starter, distributor, fuel pump, things like that. Remember, that's the car that hasn't been driven in about 10 years. So working on getting that running, and we can kind of baseline it, understand what we're working with. Then we can decide if we want to do like a restoration kind of classic, or if we want to do like a full build with a color change, a Restomod. In the meantime, let's go check on the 89. All right, so great progress here at the shop. Do a quick kind of full walk around, talk you through what we're working on. So one of the main areas of repairs is rear cross member. Got this from YRM over in the UK. This is obviously a pretty tricky job to take this out and replace it, but this turned out really well. So we've got the new cross member, new body mounts down below. This kit was actually part of what I ordered. New attachment points for the tailgate. You know, this is one of those areas that just gets a ton of rust on these cars. You end up with a tailgate that starts to get real wobbly and just unstable because of where these mount points are. So got that replaced. This rear panel back here require replacement as well. So we pulled this out. This is kind of the passenger side, very back corner, rusted out. A lot of times that happens. Surprisingly, this side where the spare sits is not rusted, although you do see that a good bit. This side's great on this car, but did replace this panel. As you can see at this point, all of the panels are basically fitted and screwed in. So then we're gonna come back and weld all those in, remove all the screws, coat everything, clean it up. But for now, everything's just fitted and kind of tested and screwed in place. But we did this. We did the rear wheel arch on the passenger side, so the piece that goes over the rear wheel as well. You can kind of see that from the underside here. So this is the new Underside, another very common place for rust. We've got this section here, this outer arch by the front door. Replaced the inner and outer sills on both the passenger and driver side. We replaced a section back here on the passenger's front floorboard where we had some rust as well. You can see that from this side. Obviously this is all going to get tied in and cleaned up. We've got new wheel arch on the front. We've got most of the mechanicals back in place on that side. This wheel arch is going up. So these are all prefabricated panels. I got pretty much everything either from YRM, like these outer sills. So here's the driver's side, inner and outer sill pieces, and the rear cross members I mentioned, or from Rimmer Bros. So Rimmer Bros are a lot of these pieces, these prefabricated wheel arches, the ones that you saw in the rear, the floorboard repair panels. So this needs to go up. That's really one of the last items we have. You can see here, this new metal is a piece of repair for the driver's side. Floorboard here, where we had some rust. We've got new inner and outer sills, like I said, and the wheel arch here. So long of the short is really all the way around the car, the entire perimeter is being replaced. So front and rear wheel arches, inner and outer sills, the outside arches by the doors, and the rear cross member. All very typical places of rust. Honestly, this car didn't exhibit this level of rust visually when we first started looking at it. It's only once we truly took it apart, put it up on these jack stands, took the whole vehicle apart, all the panels and everything, that we started to find this stuff. And so I'm glad we took it to this level. I think this is the right way to do it. We're going to basically replace 100% of any of the rust areas on this car, give it really that full restoration. There are certainly people that will kind of look under some floor mats, pull up little areas here and there, and kind of do parts and bits and paint over some stuff. And so we've really pushed this one a little further than I anticipated in terms of panel replacement and rust repair, but I'm glad we did, because ultimately once this thing is undercoated and we coat all the panels and all the welding areas, we're going to recoat the entire back trunk area and then give this thing a full respray. We'll be looking at a full restoration of this car. And so that's the right way to do it. It's a lot more work to do it that way. It's certainly taken a little longer to do it this way, but the end product's gonna be a lot better. So that's where we're at on the car. Give it a couple more weeks to get these welds done, get the car prepped and painted, and we should have another update from the home garage on the rest of the build. But hope you're enjoying the process so far. And I know that this is one piece a lot of people really like to see on these cars, is how do you go about restoring some of these that have rust or issues, because frankly, a lot of them do. And that shouldn't shy you away or steer you away from working on one of these cars and bringing it back to life. So that's this step in the process, and on to the next.